This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
It's really about the impact. So you should pay attention. And I don't want to should people, but your attention is required in this because it is from point now until the end of time. We're in it, man. We're in AI.
Now, if I had more time, I would have like ominous music playing right now, right? Like that's how we would start the episode with something where it feels futuristic and the audience can get, like there's trepidation.
Right.
And something is coming and I'm not sure I'm into it.
Yeah.
And that is the topic du jour and the topic of tomorrow and the day after and the day after. And it's all about the robots are coming.
Yeah.
The robots are taking over.
For the rest of our lives, there's some permanence to this one.
And I think we the people, speaking for the humans, are anxious, slightly terrified.
You're representing the humans. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm representing the humans.
I'm taking humankind.
I'm representing the bots.
you represent robot kind, or not so kind, which is I think the point of this episode. You're like, look, welcome to the Courageous Podcast with Cheryl Goodman, and it's so good to see you. And I like that our lives have been like colliding more now than they were in my first 20 years in San Diego. And it's really cool, the journey that you've been on, trying to understand, like, what the heck this AI thing is. Do we have it right? Do we have it wrong? Should we be scared? Pull the Ryan Berman string, and I'll say, fear and courage you can. You can't get to the courageous choice without fear. And I think a lot of us have fear when it comes to AI. Like, is it taking my job? Or can I trust it? Or will it eventually take over the world? So before we dive in, I mean, you've had an awesome career. It's been cool to watch you kind of basically work at every influential company in San Diego in the space. Like you've done Sony, you've done Qualcomm. I don't know if everyone knows Athena, but they should. That's pretty cool. I'll let you explain that as well. But in terms of companies that cover 4G, 5G, IoT, and now AI.
Which was the first, that was the OG of innovation, right? .com days.
Oh gosh, MP3s, of course. So let's talk about all of it. Let's talk about, first of all, I mean, shouldn't you be like hanging out at the beach at this point, retired? Like why are you so like passionate about cracking the code on AI?
I love that question. It reminds me of, listen, Oprah can hang out at the beach if she wanted to. I mean, she can buy the beach if she wanted to, right? And I don't know that wealth changes anything about our purpose or how we show up in the world. And, I just say very authentically starting out, I didn't grow up with a whole lot. And so I'm a pretty gracious person, and I feel that every day and every moment has potential. And so I would struggle to be cocktail in hand, beachside, as a permanent status. And I'd much rather say we take so many things for granted in this world. And I'd say, just a nod to my career is along the way, I've learned a lot of secrets and some good ones. And part of this book is really about the narratives behind the storytellers, which you are master storyteller, master narrator, right? And so this is really some of this fear's manufactured. And it's taking a stand for where we source our information and why we believe these things will kill us. And or on the flip side, there's a segment of the population that it's a true godsend and it's a deity. And guess what? It's neither. Joke's on you. Still want you to buy the book, even though that's the punchline. But that is that. But yeah, we've done well. But when you raise kids, they're expensive too, and there's 4 of those, so they're all tax-paying citizens now, and on their way. But
Well, look, you've alluded to this now twice, but congratulations. Today is a massive day. Huge props for you. And it's 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 a journey, like the research you've done. And today is the day you've launched your book, How to Win Friends and Influence Robots. And I'm already like, ooh, let me lean in and let's talk more about this. But let's talk before you delve into deep on some of the discoveries. I want to know how long of a process the book was, and then how did you decide what you said, this is going in and this is not going in?
yeah, no, this is a great question. And I can tell you that I've been working on it for more than a year. It was actually an offshoot of a leadership book that I was writing. Kind of jokingly, the whole holding title was In Between Mics. And that was Michael Robertson of mp3.com and then Mike Fasullo of Sony. And that represented 24 years in 2 or 3 intermingled lawsuits about copyright music. And so it was a book on leadership. Right. And book on leadership is a lot about narrative too, and building markets and shares. And then when in November of 2022, when ChatGPT launched and I stayed up all night long, oh my gosh, cannot believe this. It struck me just as it did in 2007 when I stayed up all night long on the iPhone. I'd gotten one of the first in line to get one of those devices. And so I knew that we were there's a demarcation in the line of time in terms of technology, and that what was happening was real and I needed to pay attention to it. So I started writing the book from there and I said, well, what is really this story? So I started out originally right at as an intern at Channel 8, but then a hired web reporter, and then over to Channel 10, KGTV 10. So I'm a journalist by trade. It's what I studied in school, political science and journalism, broadcast journalism. And so in that capacity, I really put in my investigative journalist hat, like what's really going on here? Now I've launched, I don't want to say thousands of products, but certainly a lot of products over 24 years. And in the last 6 years, they were all AI enabled, right? And so I had this context of sensors sensing, Sony being, 50% market share on sensors, and all of these sensors sense information and what happens with that information. Then on the flip side, all of those things have to be processed and they have to be carried in the network, hence 5G and all the other complementary technologies. And then you throw in things like mp3.com, where it was a fundamental disruption of music. And there's so many parallels to that level of disruption. So I'm like, I have to write this book. And so it started out, I actually have 6 different versions of this book. It's funny, I kind of want to show them to you because I have them stacked on my desk. I put them in binders, and they weren't necessarily changing their narrative or their storytelling journey, but they just continue to expand in scope. And it's like, what is really the through line here? And the through line here, as I sit here today, manuscript finalized, I look at it and I basically say, we are a shortcut society that wants to tell stories in quick ways. And we either want to demonize things or we want to deify them, because then it absolves us of any actual responsibility. And that's actually, the theory behind the Cartman drama triangle, right? So it's not a book on philosophy, but it uncovers the fact that we have to take ownership not only of our data, but we have to take ownership of educating ourselves, because the education system as it stands today, and no disregard to our folks at San Diego State or UCSD, they are not prepared to train and teach curriculum on what it means to be an AI employee. And that job title, by the way, has increased 2,000% since last year in terms of insertion into job descriptions, right? So I think it's societal, it's vocational in the sense that I'm going to teach you how to profit, right? But more than that, I'm going to teach you, and this is really where the title comes in, how to influence bots, is to understand these systems. And these systems truly, like with all my heart and soul, the theory is simple. It really is simple. Listen, I can follow it. Anyone can follow it, but that's not what we're told. We're told, oh, you're going to be a data scientist or you have to be a mathematician. No, you don't. Did anyone, when the atomic bomb was being built on, say to any of the population, hey, don't worry about how it's made, right? Because it's really about the impact. Like, so, there's parallels about the atomic bomb, and I'm definitely not suggesting that AI is a negative impact, but what I am saying, it has that broad of a reach. So you should pay attention. And I don't want to should people, but your attention is required in this because it is from point now until the end of time. We're in it, man. We're in AI.
I mean, I'm just going to play the other side of it for the purposes of good episode.
Perfect.
Okay.
Good narrative. Good story.
Hey, what a surprise. I mean, but why do I have to pay attention? Like you said at the top, like we're looking for shortcuts, right? Like if you told me I could run the marathon, but someone could put me in the car and drive me for 4 to 19 and it's not cheating, I can just like throw it in the AI. It'll tell why do I need to say, just zip it in the AI, right? And why do I need to stay curious about the reality of how it comes to be?
See, yeah, it's such a good question. And really it comes down to there's a penalty. There's a penalty in, I believe, equity, economic participation. If you're not cognizant on how these machines run, and reminder, you know this, but for your listening audience, viewing audience, is the fuel is your information. So if your information is the fuel and that's yours, my hope is that you would care, right? Or you would care at least on behalf of your children. And so I don't like to get like too heavy about it because I think by and large, most people are good. Most entities are good. I think I'm more optimist than most. I see the upside, but we also know just because most people are good doesn't mean bad things don't happen. And especially and again, much adoration for technology innovation, but more data has to make these systems run. So we need to be cognizant of what is happening to our information and in what way, so you can defend it. And I talk about this extensively in this chapter called "Talk Nerdy to Me," and it's really like why do you want to nerd out on like this? Well, so let's take a word, for example, any word that has multiple meanings. An example you could use, female, woman, African American is not a good one, but like black, right? If you take that, there's multiple meanings. And in these systems, it's very hard to triangulate the multiple meanings throughout. And if you are in a category that is on the fringes, there's a higher probability that you could be compromised by these systems. So knowledge is imperative. And Joy Boyle writes about this extensively. I cite her in my book. She was an MIT researcher that learned in grad school as she was working on her MIT project, the sensors, Sony sensors, all these Samsung make sensors, didn't recognize faces of color. They simply didn't optically recognize them. So this is a challenge, right? And so through her advocacy, she was able to say, oh, wait, we really need to challenge this. And there were others, right? I worked with Navrina Singh. She's the CEO of Credo AI, really understands how these large language models work and really the societal penalty, whether you're, we're talking about like arrest records or anything that has to do with the numbers that represent you in credit and hiring and all of those things. Now, this is not the heart of the book, but it is the why behind why you need to know. And I go through it in my best narrative telling skills to try and give color to how these systems work, again, because fundamentally they are followable. It is easy to understand. And by the way, on top of that, Brian, if you could drop some of this language at a cocktail party, if you're single, you're going home with lots of folks. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's impressive. It's impressive.
Talk
So
nerdy to me, Cheryl. That's what's
that's
happening right now. Hey, let's give some love to Navrina Singh. I miss her. San Diego misses you, Navrina. In the spirit of kind of putting a pin in this part of the chat, I kind of feel like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right? Like, hey, I trust AI, and you're kind of going, no, 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 no. Make sure we're looking behind the curtain. Get educated on this.
Yeah.
And the other side's like, I don't trust AI, and you're like, no, 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 no. There are very good applications of AI. Like, it's like, well, which way do I go? Like, should I trust it? Should I not trust it?
Well, I think that it reminds me of our political system in the sense that, can we trust our political system? Should we not trust our? No, we remain vigilant. We're alert, eyes open, eyes open, ears open. Like, I think this is just not being apathetic and feeling hopeless. And what I really love about what you do is that, one, I think our society at large has a higher rate of fear. I do talk about this in the book than ever before post COVID. Like, anxiety is really high. This is not me thinking, this is stats. You know this, right? And I love the name of yours because you're not like you're taking the positive side of it. Courage, right? Like, we all want more courage. So this book is coming from a point of not finger wagging, like you should be non-apathetic. It really is. I am so excited. I am so excited because through the curation of watching a lot of YouTube videos on how large language models works, interviewing a lot of CTOs, talking with a lot of AI companies, I've come to try and explain this in the most relatable terms possible so you can feel excited about it, almost like a puzzle. Right. So that's my hope, is that this becomes a learning journey that's doesn't feel like learning, but feels like, oh no, I know how that works. And you only really have to clap on to like 3 of these concepts. And so I'm obsessed with it. Yeah, obviously I wrote a book. So
In the spirit of because we're going to retitle this episode "The Hope of AI." Sounds very, very Star Warsy of us, which also makes good sense with AI. So, in the spirit of the hope of AI and everything you've learned, and obviously we're gonna go run out and buy the book, but like, get me, like, make sense of the hope of AI. Give me, if there's a podium, give me the gold medal and the silver medal on, like, okay, cool. I'm energized by this.
yeah, so the hope of AI for me is if the average person is messed around with ChatGPT or any other large language model, you can experience that instant wow factor, right? And so, according to Pew, that is about 58% of the population has played with ChatGPT, right, in a number of ways.
Is that American or is that
that's
global?
Yeah, for America. That's for
Okay.
America. And what's not happening, though, is the real power tools behind AI, using multimodal AI, branching out using tools like Perplexity or Poe or the other 30 plus amazing large language models that are just as simple and have phenomenal results. And the way that they're trained and built, they actually, the results are different and intriguing. And so, number one is I want the world to see, our readers to see, that it's not just a ChatGPT world, right? That there's a lot more out there. I think there's some hesitancy in folks exploring because, if you go to the App Store, you have to fight your way through all of the ChatGPT millionaire ridiculousness. And there's a very high, I don't know any other way to say this, but high crap rate. Believe me, I downloaded them all, right? And so much crap. So I wanted to come out with a curated list that basically said, you got to try these. So that's step number one. Step number two is, all right, you've made a haiku about the, leftovers in the refrigerator for work, right? Like, hey, look, ChatGPT, I just cranked out this haiku about, whispering food, right? And so you make that and you're like, oh, this is fun. But this is like you're riding a Ferrari like a tricycle, right? Because what you can be doing is you could be anonymizing and uploading your board presentation and saying, hey, act like that grumpy jerk in the room that's always negative. What would this person say about the evaluation, the way that I've set up this material? And you get amazing, an amazing person, not person, feedback in real time saying, did you consider the total market share? Did you consider North America's, attrition rate? Did you like it's legit, right? And so it's things such as this to where you then get to a workflow. And this is the part where if you're not in the employ of a company that values you and says, hey, we're going to train you on AI work skills, that's 38% of the public companies. So 38% of the companies in America. Most of my stats are based on America. You have to go out for yourself and train yourself because at the end of the day, this is all about efficiency. And efficiency is code word for spending less money. And number one cost in any company is talent. And talent is you. So you have to take it on yourself. So this to me is a manifesto that says, don't sit around and wait for the HR person to get it together and put a training together. Spend a couple bucks, learn something, and you don't have to read this thing cover to cover. It really is a reference manual. Man, you can flip to, all right, what's going on with elections? What's going on with copyright? What's going on with students? What's going on? Like I have literally the compendium of all of these things from open source to how compute works to why people freak out about NVIDIA and their stock price. I've put it all together, right? And I put it in such a way that it becomes really a reference guide. So I think I'm meandering off your question, but the net is it's strategic work, getting to a workflow, assuring your place as a talent that has skills without waiting for someone to come in and do that on your behalf. So
I just read this week one last week, one this week. Two sort of, it feels like the media is playing on the fear side versus the courage side, right? It's almost
absolutely.
right. It's almost like I don't like the term clickbait, right? But it's fear focused, right? So you had, I believe, talks of OpenAI starting a new training AI model while forming a safety committee,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
again, just thinking that fear, right? Oh, is this not safe? Is where
Yeah.
my brain goes.
Right. And you and I are so linked and synced on this because, as someone that was an oath taking journalist in the early days making no money, yes, it is the hook is in the headline, right? No one ever leads a story that says, hey, things are great, because it doesn't sell, right? so so yeah, the headlines are terrible. And I also think, you take that down two or three notches to influencer level where folks that didn't go to J school and then didn't take an oath to have fair, balanced information. And then it gets 10 times worse, right? Then you add in the algorithms where folks aren't even really looking at Wall Street Journal, or they're not even looking at more balanced information to try and figure out, gosh, is this truth or not? And another reason why I wrote the book is because just in my daily conversation with really smart people, really smart people that have nothing to do with technology, they have no role in their companies. They would come up to me and say, "Well, what is this? And what is this?" And it was just a reoccurring same exact thing: negative and fear. And in a post-COVID society, I don't think we have the capacity, and I think it's a social good to say this. They're not lies, but it's not the truth. And there needs to be one version of the truth. And the truth is rooted in if you understand what these things can do, and they are powerful, and then you understand the basics of how they work, then you have third, how to then use them through proven prompt strategies. Because, prompts are basically just like coding, right? Except you're coding the bots, and it doesn't matter what flavor you get, what LLM, that is fundamental across the board. So people need to know how to prompt. They need to know how to do this. And that's just one sliver of many, many nuggets of goodness in how to win friends and influence robots. Subhead, a guide for non-technical brilliant minds, because I believe fundamentally people are smart and they want to know and they are looking for the truth, but no one's motivated to tell the truth comprehensively. And another thing too, Ryan. So, you look around, you see all these courses that drop, Coursera, you see all of these great things. If you're, I'm a bit of a like MIT junkie, so every time something comes out, whether it's new space technology or, you know, MIT like blockchain, every time something comes out, I would take one of these courses. It's $4,000 a pop. Not everyone has 2 months and $4,000 to spend. So in the spirit of that, I wanted to also bring some curated content that was unbiased, because a lot of the content you see out there for free or for low cost, not only is it out of date because they're not spending the time to update it, but it's biased. It's based on Microsoft, Google, Meta, or insert your flavor here. So this is part of the vigilance. So I like to say is that my attempt here was to be the NPR of AI news and to just tell folks what was good for them, not in any sponsored biased way.
Your journalism is showing, Cheryl.
I know. Oh my gosh.
I feel slightly guilty because this episode is the hope for AI, but there's that second article, and it wasn't a small one, and it's funny you had mentioned person, and you're like, well, they're not person. AI is not a person, but let's talk about a person. Let's talk about Scarlett Johansson. Let's talk about Sky and the controversy there. And we don't have to go. I'm sure you're probably tired of already talking about this.
Oh, I could talk forever on this.
Okay, so I mean, it is a little ironic. Is that the right word? Or is this?
Yeah, I think it's ironic. Well, no, and I think here's what I think. If I could just speak some real truth here, AI is not the only road. And majority of, and again, this is Pew Research, think that ChatGPT is the only open road to AI. They conflate AI with ChatGPT, and that is not the truth. And you'll remember last September, there was all these headlines, and he was asked to leave. Sam Altman was asked to leave the board. Which, by the way, he has no technical background, right? He's kind of like a Jobsian fellow in the sense Steve Jobs-esque, right? Can bring these pieces here and bring the pieces there, but his team is very technical. So there is this debate on the way that ChatGPT was built. I talk about this in the book. It's called the Shoggoth. And it's like this really ugly, disgusting creature that's like this meme. And it was hoovered up all the dirtiness of the internet and the goodness, but it vacuumed all of that up. And that's what powers ChatGPT. So, we have modes of data acquisition building these models that have come into question. And we also, too, have a lot of missteps, right? I mean, who basically fires their CEO on Friday and then Monday he's back in the chair? So I'm not, this is not to, barbecue this company. I love what they're doing, and no one's perfect. But the net is this is technology built by humans. It is broken. It is fractured. And there's 30 other options that are amazing that have none of these issues. There's one called Claude. So Claude was the LLM just before OpenAI launched ChatGPT, and it broke off into another company. And they called theirs constitutional AI because they didn't like the fact that the garbage of the internet was powering ChatGPT. And you could see in the responses and the answers, it's much more intentional. It's much more clear. So, to answer your question is, I think they're moving fast. I think they're breaking things. I think they're violating some things. This goes back to the mp3.com days. Like, is a digital file stealing and ripping off music, right? All of these things are going to sort out. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not like this is all of these are deal killers, but all of these things are going to sort out. And you know what's going to be left? It's really powerful AI tools. We will get through copyright. We will get through these bumps, but you are not relegated to take one road called ChatGPT. You can take Microsoft Copilot. You can take, again, it's in the book. I have a huge list of, if you're looking for this, go this way. Now, the stuff is moving so fast that, gosh, I just want to go back and update. So I'm already working on the updated version. But the net is, I tried to write this book in an evergreen fashion that you would pick it up a year later and fundamentally the information would hold true, which is why I focused on how do these things work, right? And if you can grasp that, you'll be well suited to live this AI journey without as many questions about your demise by a robot.
Yeah, you talked about the reality of this thing is moving so quick, right? Like what, even those who are teaching courses on this, like where's the line on how far back you should go if things are changing at the speed of AI? I don't know what else to say.
It was focusing on the fundamentals because really what I had done is I had started in November and then my goal was to launch in September. September, the board fell apart. And at that point, this was very few people knew even beyond OpenAI. They didn't even know what OpenAI was. They thought they just knew ChatGPT, right? Well, OpenAI runs ChatGPT. And when that whole board thing, and I'm like, wait, I got to pause because now I'm getting very granular, and granularity doesn't help people cement a foundation of learning. So I had to take a step back and say, whatever I write has to be evergreen. And then if it's not, then it's going to be referenced as, hey, check my website because I'm going to put an update. Like I have on my website a layoff tracker directly correlated to how many people are being laid off. Right. So if you want the real numbers, just go to the layoff tracker and say, oh gosh, yeah, that efficiency happened over there. They got efficient. So yeah, so you have to stay evergreen. And then in terms of updating, this is the other part of this business is, it's no different than the .com days, right? Or even smartphone, right? App economy, 2007. It's the pace is unfortunately 10 times faster than both of those decades, though.
I'm at FindGood.tech right now. I am on the layoff tracker. This is ridiculous. This scrolling page that I'm looking at right now. How did you build this page?
It's an Airtable page and it's sourced from a variety of places. And I'm actually just messing around with it. It's funny because I just asked that to be plugged in yesterday. So I'm like, oh man, I hope it made it over there. Woohoo, it's on there.
It's here. Yep.
Yeah, so it's an Airtable, and I'm going to be plugging in a lot of resources over the next couple of days to support the book. This is kind of like the last part of it's the ebook comes out on the 30th. The print book is 2 weeks later, and I would just like if I could throw out there here, Ryan, is Amazon is no different than anybody else in the big tech world, right? Obviously, big player in AI. As a publisher of content, it behooves me to sell my book directly to a consumer. So I'd much rather folks go to FindGood.tech to buy the book. When that link is going to be updated on the 30th, the day that this, I imagine this airs or comes out. So because I can't see all of the hundreds of pre-sales on Amazon for this book already because I have no access to information, emails, and it's impossible. And this is what we're really talking about. If you're a startup or if you're a business owner, you need that information for a variety of reasons, right? So anyway, just throwing that out there.
All right. I'm like finally wrapping my head around all of this. And so thank you for dumbing it down for guys like me, since you're the expert in the space and not me. So one, it feels like How to Win Friends and Influence Robots is a resource guide for curious learners looking to truly understand what's behind the curtain on AI and what it can do for my life and or business and or life.
Absolutely. I have a section on entrepreneurs. I have a section on HR. I have a section on job resources. I have a section on ethics and politics. And I tried to just be as comprehensive. Now, this book is just under 260 pages, and it's pretty dense. The reading for this, the way I've set it up is if you really want to just get straight to how to prompt, like how you should effectively do the 6-step strategy and how you can get multimodal, how you can build a chatbot, go straight there. In the beginning, and this is a little non-typical, is I did go through why me? Like why should anyone listen to me? And I felt this burden to super articulate my journey because of most of these AA books that I've seen come from people that have never worked in technology, right? So I felt that burden. But in that journey, I show pattern recognition, right? Is that we've been here before. Okay, yeah, it's faster, right? Now it does things that kind of freaks us out, but we've absolutely been here before many, many times. And so I go through the history, the last 50 years of how did we get here? Like, how do you get to talking to a machine, your computer, and saying, create a video of Ryan on a jump rope, jumping up and down. And then Sora immediately renders, 3 seconds later, this video that's near perfect, right? Maybe you got 12 fingers, but whatever. I always wanted 12 fingers.
How did you
right?
know? How did you know?
Little birdie told me. But, it's like, how did we get here? And so I go through that, there's these steps, and it took years for this to happen. And so when people think, oh my God, AI is overnight, it's like magic. It's like, no, 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 no. It took a really, really long time. And on those steps, there was a lot broken, and there's still a lot broken. So don't believe the lies. There's only one person you can believe in. You can believe in yourself. You can believe in your capacity to learn. It doesn't matter what people tell you about, oh, you didn't study computer science, or you didn't do this. Well, guess what? You don't need to. If you can read, you can follow this, right? So, and I'm passionate about that because we are in an information age that you don't have to have layers of credentials to be able to understand these concepts. You really don't.
As a journalist, and I think this is one of my 2 final cues, just so you know, okay? And permission granted to fire back cues this way. But as a journalist, okay, let me rephrase this. With journalistic tendencies, did you ask AI to help you write the book?
Absolutely. 100%. I use every flavor throughout. And you'll see in my credits, alongside my interviews with Lenovo and Qualcomm and Keshev Ventures and Personal AI and Good Face Project and every other entity that is running powerful AI or making decisions about AI on a daily basis, I used every single tool that I list in the reference, right? And throughout, because the reality is part of this was also, listen, I'm a writer. I have many published white papers that could rival the length of this book, right? Writing a book is so much different than writing white paper. One, that's number one, what I learned. Number two that I learned is I really wanted to stress test it. Why shouldn't I? I mean, this is its superpower, right? And I was able to really hone what worked and what didn't work, which is that, how I really came to things like Claude. Another one is perplexity. Perplexity is phenomenal, right? So it's like ChatGPT in the sense that it's a large language model in which you're prompting, but you get sources. And so when perplexity came out, it's like, hold on to your shorts, Google. No, we found a way around the hallucination issue in the sense that you can immediately check your sources if you needed to vet the output of your query, right? Which of course you have to do that all the time. Absolutely. Nothing's changed, right? These things are not perfect. But in Perplexity, you get your source list, right? So when you're writing a book, the hardest part to me is the brain numbing task of creating your sources and your reference and subscript and all that. I'm like, oh my God, it's like I'm back in college. But it does this, it does this. So absolutely, and 100% transparent. I would be a fool not to test and trial these tools. Now, I'll leave you kind of with this thought too. From November 2022 to now, the experience on these platforms has changed radically. I've seen spikes where it's like one day it's like, oh, this is great. And then the next day it was horrible, unusable, right? So I think we are evening out, and there's some consistency. So I put that in the book too, little asterisks. It's like these are dynamic systems. The other thing is that in the last month has been really pivotal because now Microsoft is playing in a big way with what is a category called copilots, right? So you think, oh wait, Copilot was a product. No, Copilot is a category of where not only are you using your large language model like your Chat GPT or your Gemini or whatever, insert large language model here, but then it's sourcing all of your data. Oh, we have Ryan's contact list from his email account. Oh, we have his spreadsheet. We have his Intuit file. We have his MailChimp files. We have basically it's all of your systems connected. So you have a dashboard, right? So now these Copilot systems are coming on board. Great for enterprise, but all of this is really, you know, really kind of rocking the boat for the definition of how these large language models might look even 2 and 3 months from now. And GPT is on the cusp, rumor mill's pretty hot. GPT-5 is going to be coming out. So we've got to be vigilant, just saying that power, it gets better. There's utility there. Learn the lingo, get the framework, because could you imagine if you were in a business in 1999 and you're like, nah, I really don't want to get on the internet. I don't really want to talk because, I'm not good with technology. I mean, really? Would we ever do that? Oh, wait, people did do that and they're not here. They're starving. They died. So.
Again, first of all, awesome learnings. It feels like a courage case study of overcoming fear, right? And I'm curious, you talked about the dashboard that you're building. One quick sort of take me behind the curtain question. This wasn't the last question I'm going to ask now. There's another question, but I am curious if, like for me, because I have my weekly dose of courage. I've got a LinkedIn following now. We got the podcast. I got my email newsletter. Do I have to plug all this in, or does it just, it has it all?
You don't have to. And I would just say this is that I'm a big fan of Zapier, and Zapier basically takes apps and they zap. And so what you can do is you can go into Zapier and you can get plugins that say, if this function happens, then this outcome happens. If this, then that. And this was actually when I was in Qualcomm Labs, this was if then this, then that. In 2013 was the early days of all of this. Well, now Zapier is really leading in terms of AI. So I would even call that not even really AI. I'd call that just automation, right? But then when you layer in the large language model, and then it becomes centered to your experience and you're in a co-pilot type function, that's when you're being very intentional. And then you're saying, hey, I'm feeling cool with one company, be it Microsoft or whomever you choose, having 360 access to pretty much everything, right? And it's no different than, ERP systems for enterprise, right? They have all of these dashboards, but now it's coming down to the consumer level. And, obviously it's much better than ERP systems in, you just have this dashboard. To me, this is the dream come true. Like, I'm not the most organized person in life. I switch this camera around. Whoo, you'd see all kinds of papers everywhere. Like, I love stuff, right? I would love to have. So for me, part of this is being selfish. Like, I cannot wait to integrate the full promise of my business. And I've been in business, FindGood.tech. It's been around a little over a year. Part of this is a journey to fully automate everything in my business as a growing business, which, as you know, I'm a vice chair of Startup San Diego, and really talking and working with startups and like, what are the next best things relative to AI, especially if they're coming from San Diego. I'm excited.
Well, first of all, I'm hiring you as my fractional chief AI officer. Congratulations. It pays nothing. I've got nothing to offer you.
You just doubled my salary. Awesome.
Today is the day, guys. Go to FindGood.tech. Ebook is out. And I think it's also at Amazon if that's your thing, correct?
Yeah. I would love for folks to go to FindGood.tech to get, I would love for you to buy it there. But if you like Amazon, go to Amazon. But if you buy it on FindGood.tech, you're going to get free stuff and you're going to get a better price. So.
All right, this is my last real question, and it's a little very Ryan Berman. So I acknowledge that it's very Ryan Berman, but like, okay. Again, and let's give some love to Cheryl Goodman in her book, which is called How to Win Friends and Influence Robots. And when you thought of the title, I'm very curious. When you wrote Influence Robots, did you mean robots, or did you mean people? And now here's the deal, right? This is very me. I'm an optimist. I want to see the good in us, but I think there's a lot of us right now that are robots. We are walking through life and we're like zombie robots on autopilot. And obviously, if you're listening to this, then there's curiosity. You're interested in AI. Hopefully you're going to go to Gemini or Zapier. You're going to play with some of the things that hopefully you're going to go buy the book and learn more, right? This research. Right. But I see more of a, wait a minute, why are we not running to learn? Like, how do we get out of autopilot of being robotic? And how can this book help?
Yeah, I love that question. And it really is in the mindset chapter is none of this information, none of this 250 plus pages is going to sink in if you don't address your role in this. And it's just like anything else is we can't blame robots. We can't blame big tech. They're leaving me behind, or I didn't have money to get a computer science degree. Well, guess what? You don't need it. The only thing you need is curiosity. And then you need a mindset that says, I deserve this. I deserve to know, because everything in my life will be impacted by this at some point. I think we're 50% there on what that impact's going to be. But you deserve to know this, speaking straight to the listener, straight to the reader. You deserve to know this information, and you can. It is accessible, and you don't have to read the whole book, but just skip around and just start to build some confidence, because it's coming, and who knows what your contribution would be to AI.
Cheryl Goodman, everybody. Hey, I love it. The only thing you need is curiosity. And I think my big takeaway from this isn't just, now that I'm grasping that you wrote a resource guide here, but let's honor the cliched line of fortune favors the bold. Like, what do I need to learn here? To your point, if this was the internet, we would all be diving into it, trying to understand it, right? And why wouldn't we do the same here?
Yeah, no different. Absolutely no different. And the fear for every single technology, including the calculator. The calculator first came out, there was a lot of criticism of, oh, there's a cognitive shortcut. You're making your child stupid. They were, I don't want to say outlawed, but they certainly were prohibited. Why would you stop someone from actually executing on the reason they were calculating to begin with in the first place? I got to build a house. I need a calculator. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. You got to calculate to get to the next step, to get to the outcome, whether it's feeding your family or building a house or whatever it is. Don't hate the hammer. That's my last analogy. Don't hate the hammer, because it is a tool. You can kill someone with a hammer, or you can hang a picture. Don't hate the hammer. It's not the hammer's fault, right?
I would have loved if we had this level of zest and combativeness in the calculator golden era. No calculators in this school. My child's not going learn math. All the math teachers.
Right. All the pencils and the broken stubby fingers. I had a big callus on my finger when I was a kid from pencils. I was like, no, I need that T185.
Not me. That's why I've got 12 fingers, Cheryl. Because the other two, that's where all the calluses are. No problem. Cheryl Goodman, FindGood.tech. Go buy her book, everybody. Thanks for joining, Cheryl.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.